I think I figured out how the points on the Lancer leaderboards work, and it's probably not how you think it does. Hey guys, Nightfall here, and during season 1 of Fragpunk, there was some talks about how exactly the Lancer leaderboards were being calculated, and nobody seemed to know the answer, and the in-game snippet of information didn't really give us much insight into what exactly it was taking into account and how much each thing was being weighted. Plus, all the known issues with losing points in chunks didn't really help with the consistency, so it was hard to even test it. So when they finally said that they fixed that issue at the start of season 2, I set out to get to the bottom of things. A lot of people want to try to climb the Lancer leaderboards, and so far this season, I've peaked as the number 4 Zephyr in the world. And I tracked just under 30 games to try to identify how it all breaks down and how it works. So the first thing you should know before we even look at the data that I collected is that you only earn points towards this leaderboard in ranked. Now, after putting this out, I fully expect to see more people trying to beat the system because, spoiler alert, it is very cheatable. So let's look at some data points here. So you can see this is a lot of good data collected, and there's some pretty big variations in the amount of kills that I get, with the amount of damage I get, the amount of score I get, so on and so forth. So you can see that what I've done is I've tracked my kills, deaths, assists, score, damage, the outcome of that match, and my place on my own team's leaderboard. And then also the amount of points I had after that game and the difference plus or minus between what I was actually getting from that game. I then went ahead and highlighted every single game in which I lost points on the leaderboard in this orange color. And you can almost immediately see that it's more heavily weighted towards games when I went either 4th or 5th on my own team's leaderboard. And there was one outlier that I highlighted here in a blue color in which I went 5, 5, and 5 with a decent score considering we lost and still gained 6 points, also going 4th or 5th on my own leaderboard. Now, there are also some reverse outliers, which I've highlighted in pink, in which I had a decent match both times, placed 3rd on my team, and still ended up losing a couple of points on that leaderboard. And also one where I did very well, placed 2nd on my team, and gained absolutely nothing. But from the looks of it, minus a few outliers here and there, it would appear as though the first thing to keep in mind when you're trying to leaderboard grind is you're not necessarily looking to get a higher score, but your score in relation to your teammates, aka your position on your own team's leaderboard. With this being said, it's a lot easier to climb leaderboards as someone like Corona or Spider, considering you get points every time you hit somebody with their ability and ultimately an assist. Plus, with Corona, you're dealing more damage, which results in more score. Whereas for me, somebody playing Zephyr, none of her abilities are really going to give you extra points or assists because there's no traps that she puts down that people activate or take damage from when they walk near or trigger. So now I want to shift attention to the 4 games that I have highlighted in green. These were my top 3 games in terms of points earned on the leaderboard. All 3 times I was number 1 on my own team, so trying to isolate the second most contributing factor after place on your own team's leaderboard, we can look at these in order. I broke down kills, deaths, and assists, and none of it was really making sense. So I tried combining all 3 of these into KDA, which you can see to the far right, and it still doesn't really reflect a clear contribution to more or less points, depending on the better or worse KDA that you get. So then I started looking at the actual score, but that's not helpful either because again, I earned more points with less score one of these times. The damage is the same exact way, and the outcome of the match doesn't really seem to matter at all when you look at the majority of the games. So my only conclusion is that it's either some complex formula measuring parts of all of these stats, which is very likely, or it's also considering the potential ranks of your enemies that you face, which could also be a part of that formula as well. Now, I like numbers, but not enough of a math whiz to try to reverse engineer what formula is being used here. But I think we can definitively say that the main thing that matters is your place on your own team's leaderboard, whether you win or lose. Being the MVP is a surefire way to gain points on the Lancer leaderboard. So even if you stack with a few terrible teammates, it does have a silver lining of sorts. Even though you may lose more games than you win, you will at least be gaining ground on your Lancer's leaderboard, which leads me to why I think it's very cheatable. You could literally just win trade. You win a game and do good with the character or the Lancer that you're trying to grind that leaderboard with. And then the next game, you just do really poorly and try to lose the game on purpose, making you stay in the same exact rank, facing the same level of enemies, and ultimately getting about the same level of your own teammates. So it's a lot easier to do this in, say, like a gold or a plat lobby than it is in a diamond master or punk master lobby. But maybe you see something different here, or you've collected your own data and seen different results. Be happy to discuss in the comments if you let me know your findings, but I think this needs to be reconsidered on how points are calculated, because the leaderboard position being the main factor, while it isn't a terrible idea, it just may not be the best idea, and it's, like I said, very easily cheated. And yes, I understand that your score is calculated based on your kills, assists, damage, etc., but it should be based on your score then, not your place on the leaderboard or your score in relation to your teammates. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.